So let us start. Hare Krishna, everyone. So we have come to the last chapter of this course, right? Level 2, perfection of action. Before that, let us say our Mangalacharan, obeisance to Sri Radha Radha Govinda. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nananjana Shalakaya Chakshumitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittam Sham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranabhami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrabhyascha Kripa Sindhavevacha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Ste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschateshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So let us start. So what did we do last week? Let us recap the chapter 17. It was all about, Rajana was asking, if the faith is not spiritual. That means they don't have faith in the spiritual scriptures, but they have faith in something. Their own concoction, some kind of faith they have, and they follow those. They are adhered to that. So what happens to them? So then the Lord says about, that is, they'll always be under the modes of nature, under the three modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, Rajas Guna, and the thing. So actually, they are not fully divine nor fully demonic, because we saw in 16th chapter that people who follow the scriptures and they go act accordingly, they are divine, they have divine qualities they develop. And people who don't follow the scriptures and they do whimsically, they go down below demonic qualities. And why they have demonic, we saw that, right? But in now 17th, he was that over in between. They are not down below nor up in the banyan tree, the inverted banyan tree. So they are not. And what happens to them? There are three modes of nature controls them all. That is the complexity. And how to come off that and what is the solution, we are going to see in this chapter. But let us see the verses in 17th chapter that Krishna says the one most determine one's activities. Faith and worship in the modes. There are three, the faith in three modes we saw. And then it talks about the food and sacrifices in the three modes of nature. Then it talked about three types of austerity. What are the three types? Austerity of the body, austerity of the mind, and austerity of the speech. Because we do activities physically, mentally, and verbally, right? So we have the austerity in the three modes we talked about. Then talked about charity also. We think charity means we do a very auspicious activity. It's the thing and we get punya. But there also the Lord talked about charity in the mode of goodness, charity in the mode of passion, charity in the mode of ignorance. What is the intent? What is the attitude with which you carry out that activity? And finally, he concluded with Om Tat Sat. That is, if you do with, you can purify any activity by Om Tat Sat. How? Because we are doing it, starting with the Lord, keeping the Lord in the, as the performing for the Lord, and starting taking the Lord's name and doing everything for the Lord. that will purify our activity. Any impurity which is associated with the three modes of nature are removed. Okay. So this is the knowledge Krishna gave to Arjuna, and it is mind-blowing, isn't it? In Bhagavad Gita, what we see, the nature of Bhagavad Gita is making us to think, is making us to respect of what we are, makes us look at our thoughts, makes us look at our intention, whether our attitude and our own approach to life. Isn't that is what how this Bhagavad Gita is nature is. Okay. So, and we'll know where we have gone wrong before, and at least we have a better thing to do now. What does he do now? So finally, we come to this, where the conclusion. It starts off with Arjuna asking about renunciation. Again, it starts with renunciation. So there are 78 verses. It's a very long chapter. So I might take, I think I'll do it. Let's see if I can complete it in 2 classes or in 3 classes. Okay. But we'll hope to close by next week. So acting with detachment is true renunciation and brings freedom from reaction. So there's a then again, it talks about Sankhya and Vedana actions directed by Suprasad. So here in these verses is again going back to karma, jnana, and then bhakti. Finally, he'll come to bhakti. Okay. So let us look at these 40 verses. That's what I'm planning, right? So in the first 6 verses, it's about acting with detachment is true renunciation and brings freedom from reaction. Why is Lord talking about renunciation and reaction? It's because Arjuna starts with that. Why renunciation? Actually, see, when the chapter 1, Arjuna was what he realized that when he was thinking about renunciation in chapter 1, basically his idea was that people would appreciate this renunciation. Like they will think he's a good man, he's a kind-hearted man, and let me give up this kingdom. Let me give up these prospects of being a king or in the future. Let me give up this sense gratification of a royal kingdom. I know he was thinking in those lines, right? And he thought the people will appreciate my vairagya, my detachment. But what is happening now is realizing that renunciation, that is tendency to give up things, because this is what we are talking, no? In this whole from 13th chapter on us, giving up the material, detached from the material nature and all that. Giving up things, relationships, opportunities, situations. These are all controlled by 3 modes of nature. That's what the Lord is saying. So when he's saying that it's something controlled, even the charity which the Lord talked about in the thing, it's also controlled by 3 modes. And we know that charity means we people really something which is very nice, okay? And there also we looked at the intention. What is the mode of, it could be done in the mode of ignorance, it could be done in the mode of passion, or it could be done in the mode of goodness also, right? So Arjuna is thinking that we give up all this. Was this renunciation which I'm talking, was he is in the mode of goodness or is it in mode of ignorance? So now Arjuna wants to ask this question so that he'll know where is actually Sujata, because that's what he started, right? So sacrifice, charity, austerity, we saw are all controlled by 3 modes. Is my renunciation is also in that. Was I wrong before? Wants to cross-check. So that thought, what he was thinking, and actually the renunciation. So that, because this is the renunciation comes, is a part of our spiritual life, right? We have to do something. We have to renounce certain things. If you want to come above the desires, you want to give up the lower desires, you want to desire for more, you want to get desires to leave this world, liberation, mukti, you want to go. So your desires are for higher desires. You have to give up something if you do it. So, but the complexity of this material world is very difficult. Like if you try to do by your own intelligence, you want to analyze the 3 modes of nature, then it is actually beyond us. Why? Because even the intelligence which we have, it's also under the influence of the 3 modes of nature. So you're trying to solve a problem which is being also controlled by 3 modes, because you're always surrounded by the 3 modes, right? So we need to go to a point which is something better, right? So Arjuna is thinking how you can escape this prison house. So finally, we want to, finally, the end of chapter, Krishna is going to come say devotional surrender unto him. Finally, he is going to lead us to that, right? That's what we know in the end of the chapter. Surrender is another word which you have been using in Bhagavad Gita is bhakti. Bhakti is nothing but devotional surrender. So we are finally, bhakti is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. We are going to come to that understandings. That is the only one which can free from us this thing, right? So, but actually it's not like, it's like, maybe it's like it appears to be a punishment to be in this material world, but it is not. It is actually, the purpose is to reconnect our mindset to the reality, our mindset to what is actually the reality, instead of trying to be under the Maya. We have to come to that. So when a person realizes the wrongdoing and is sorry for it, then there remains no use for further punishment, isn't it? That's what happens when a child, goes to the teacher and says, "I'm very sorry, teacher. I know I've done wrong and I've hurt my friends and I also hurt you and hurt myself also. So I won't repeat it." When the child is so remorseful and is talking directly, the teacher will naturally say, "No, okay, then don't repeat it," because he knows that the child has realized that he's wrong. So once you have understood that surrender means you're ready to change. When one does that, the three modes of nature will naturally, its influence will start reducing. This is how it works. Okay. So before we go, let us see what the Arjuna's question is actually. Arjuna Vacha, Sanyasa Mahabaho, Tattvam Ichchami Veditam, Tyagascha Rishikesha, Pratak Sheshina Soda. Pratak means distinguish. Oh my armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, sannyasa, O killer of Keshi Demon, master of sense. Why is he addressing him as killer of Keshi Demon? Because Keshi Sudana, he can clear his doubts. Like he killed this demon, he can kill all my doubts. That's what Arjuna is saying. Okay, he's addressing him, telling, tell me exactly what do you mean by renunciation? What is the purpose of it? And because we have to know that clarity should be there. Why should anyone renounce anything? What is the renounced order? So he wants to go understanding deeper and deeper. So it is something we need to handle also, right? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasham, Sanyasam Kavayo Viduhu, Sarva Karma Phala Tyagam Prahustyakam Vishakana Saha. So now Krishna doesn't talk straight away because he's now giving the opinions of how the wise people, the learned people, how their perceptions are. Okay. See, he says, to give up the results of all activities is called renunciation, tyaga, by the wise. Okay, Kavayo. And that state is called renounced order of life by great men like learned men. So he is saying that. So what is that? Karmanyam karma. Activities, there are two kinds of activities. Okay, Nitya karma, that is we do every day, daily obligating activities prescribed in scriptures to be done as a matter of duty. Getting up early in the morning, cleaning a body, going to temple, paying obeisance to the Lord, superiors, eating at regular time, sleeping. Now, these are certain activities are there which you need to do Nitya karma, right? And there are certain activities, Kamya karma, where you do occasion, that is you do for amassing wealth or some particular personal material desires. So what do the learned people say? Means not to give up the Nitya karma, but only give up the Karma karma. There are some people who say that. That is Tyaga. But there are activities who says to give up the results of the activities. It's called thing. That means you do both Nitya karma and Karma karma, but only give up all your fruitive activities as their fault. Why? But there are some Tyajam dosha tad vad eti eke karma prahur manishina yagna dana tapa karma na tyajam iti chapare. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up. Some are scared. They think, no, why bother about all? Just give up all the activities. But there are other sages who say, no, no, you do the acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance. They should never be impaired. So when there are learned people or in the scriptures and things, when they voice such different opinions, so Krishna himself says these are the different opinions, what are they given. So there are some other. So now what do you, Krishna, say? So it will come to our mind, no? What is the Lord is going to say when he's putting up all these different opinions of the learned men and wise men. Yajna dana tapa karma, na tyajam karyam evatat, yajna dana tapaschaiva, pavanani manishi. Yajna is sacrifice, dana is charity, tapa is the austerity. So acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. Tyajam, not even karyam. It has to be done. Should be performed. Karyam eva tat. Okay? Why? Because sacrifice, charity, and penance, they purify the great souls. Pavanani manishina. So, these sacrifice purify even the great souls. Even spiritually evolved people are immensely benefited by these acts. So this is what, that means you have to do it regularly. It's not that you should stop them. All this, whichever purifies our souls, which is purifying heart activities, they have to be continued. There is nothing like you put a stop to that. Our devotional service, whatever we do. So you might think, why every day? Why should we do it every day? Oh, that is also will be there, no? People might ask. Meditation, getting up early, chanting, doing certain things which are helpful in spiritual life, doing certain things, avoiding certain things which are not helpful in spiritual life. Why go to that routine? That's what will be there, right? So take an example of, we have to clean the house, right? Every day we sweep the floor. Every day there's a thing, right? And even you have to, hands are cleaning your room, cleaning the office decks, you're doing. So you want to keep it cleaning. What steps you do? You do it every day, isn't it? And also you see that not much, you have windows, you have doors and things. You see that not much dust comes from outside also, right? So that they don't come. Same way, we have to also should do to our heart. We should clean our heart, okay? So if you have to keep your heart clean, dust will come naturally because you'll be always in the material world, right? Material nature, your thing. So you have to not to let it inside, and also you have to clean the house inside, really. So we do things, clean the heart, protect it from dust entering, right? So that are 6 enemies we have. So this is what happens. So you have to do it every day. It's not that you have to do it only now. So this the great souls have realized, and they keep continuing their spiritual activities. That is sacrifice, charity, and penance, whatever it is. Here we see Daksha Maharaj is doing the sacrifice, and we have Lord Brahma, Shiva there. In the end, Igneshwara Lord Vishnu comes to bless them. Okay. And with what attitude you should do it, that now Krishna says, Etani apitu karmani, sangam tattva palanicha, kattan me pata, nishchitam matam uttamam. That is my final opinion. What is, all these activities should be performed without any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty. All that, what all? Sacrifices, then austerities and all which you follow, austerities of mind, thing and all that, you should perform it as a matter of duty. Don't look at the expecting some result. Oh, I will get cured and I will, my anathas. Don't expect all that. You just do it as your duty and slowly the process will work. Okay. So that it should be performed. See, there are things where he is very particular. He says, should be performed. And that is my final opinion. So there might be a lot of opinions by the learned people, wise people, sages, but here he says anything which is purifying nature, it should be done. Purifying the spiritual activities should be done. Okay. Then what about the prescribed duties? So here prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up his prescribed duties, because that is prescribed duties are there, no? We talked about Varnashram system. There are in each varna, each ashram, whichever there, we have certain duties which has given the Vedas, which has to be followed. But it should not be renounced. So again, some people will give up those things because once they come to spiritual life, they think that you don't have to do, you're not no more obligated. So they want to give up their obligations to the family, to the thing, all that which they're having, they want to give it up. That is not spiritual life. Here he says you should not give up a prescribed till you reach to a level of certain perfection level. Then slowly that will come. I mean, once you are in Krishna consciousness, then slowly it comes. You may not have to reach, but you need to reach a very higher level of perfection. Okay. So such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Or people never or gives up doing the prescribed duties. They don't want to do it. So that kind of, they are in the mode, it's known as to be in the mode of ignorance. And there are people who gives up this prescribed duties thinking it is troublesome. Oh, I might as a fear of bodily discomfort. Is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the perfection because they don't want to do it. They fear and they might do. Like even dharma, they might think, oh, if I might make some mistakes and all that, why at all to follow it? Or why at all follow chanting? Because I might make mistakes there and that will not be any fun. So fear of doing certain things because of discomfort. Oh, why get up in early in the morning, attending the Mangalarti is a discomfort. So there are certain things which they want to give up some duties out of discomfort. But the one who performs a prescribed duty only because it ought to be done and renounces all attachment to the fruit, if his renunciation is in the nature of goodness. So one who does with such detachment, with such attitude, is known as to be in the nature of goodness. Oh Arjuna. So what we said, one who is in the ignorance is who. What is the reason? He is in Maya. He is in illusion. So he doesn't want to do the prescribed duties. He is in that. And then there is people who find it difficult or because they are fear of failing it. So they also don't do it. They are in the mode of passion. But the people who are in the uh, uh, doing it as a duty, they are in the mode of goodness. So they know what is right, what is wrong, and things. So they do it. So what are the symptoms? Symptoms of proper renunciation. Krishna says they are who's in the mode of goodness. What he does, he doesn't hate nor is inauspicious work or attached to the auspicious. Even if it is auspicious work and he doesn't get attached to that, even it's not hateful to the inauspicious because he's doing it as his duty. Whether he likes it or not likes it or whether he thinks if it has to be done, he will just do it. Okay. And does not hate anyone or trouble or anyone or is troubled by that troubles his body. Okay. Nor does works in a proper place at the proper time and without fearing the troublesome effects. Okay, this is what is attitude and this is a symptoms of proper renunciation. And he has no doubts about the word. He has got clarity in his mind. Okay, this is how he defines what is proper renunciation. Okay, what is prescribed duties. And what is the effects? So once you do, then Arjuna will ask what happens after death when they do such kind of things. So there, so let us look at them. Now they hate. Anyone wants to read? It is said in Bhagavad Gita that one can never give up work at any time. Therefore, he works for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruitive results or offers everything to Krishna. Is actually a renouncer. There are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness who work very hard in their office or in the factory or some other place, and whatever they earn, they give it to the society. Such highly elevated souls are actually sannyasis, are situated in the renounced order of life. So it is clearly outlined here how to renounce the fruits of work and for what purpose should be renounced. Okay. Anishtam, ishtam, ishtam cha, trividam karmana phalam. Phalam is what is the results after death. Bhavati atyaginam pretya natu sannyasinam kavachet. For one who has not renounced the threefold fruits of actions, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no result to suffer or enjoy. Anishta means which is leading to hell. Ishta means it's leading to heaven. Mishram is mixed. Trividam are three kinds of work. Phalam is the result. Okay. So, you Atyagina, one who not renounced. So that is what happens to the thing. If they have not renounced, their things are there. They'll have heavenly happiness, ishtam, or relish suffering. And they keep rotating up and down. They'll go up or they go down and or they will remain in the human life. So this goes on in our cycle of their birth and death. So this is what we keep repeating. Otherwise, once you are and you're in the renounced order, then means you have no result. That means you have no reactions to suffer or to enjoy. So this is one. A person in Krishna consciousness acting in knowledge of his relationship with Krishna is always liberated. Therefore, he does not have to enjoy the or suffer the results of his acts after death. Okay. So this is a Ferris wheel. You keep going around in the cycle of birth and death. So either you go up or you go down or you'll be in the Mishra. You will be in the human life, right? So what happens to these reactions? So why this reaction? So now for that, so we talked about renounced order. What do you mean by symptoms of renounced order? And how sannyas, sacrifice, charity, and the austerity, the penance should not be given up because they purify us. And prescribed duties, we have to do it as our duty and not neglect it. Okay, otherwise you're in. So we could come to know in which modes of nature the people are. And what happens to them if they don't follow that? What is the reaction? They could either go up, might be doing punya, they'll be going up to the heavenly things, or they could be suffering down. Okay, they'll be down. Right? So that is that they keep doing, or they'll be in the human life. So they keep going this in the cycle of birth and death, all that. But if you are in Krishna consciousness and you are in the renounced order of life, giving everything for the Lord, the results, then results of reactions, you will not need to suffer or enjoy. So why reaction? So now comes the question of, so now Krishna is going to give a deeper analysis. He's taking the quoting, Krishna cites Vedanta and analysis activities as comprised of 5 factors. This is to help us perform activities without being bound. Okay. Most prominent of these factors is the supersoul. Acting under the supersoul's direction, one is unaffected by the reaction. So why reaction? So we'll see that. Actually, it is due to the doership mentality. In fact, we looked at it in chapter 5, our 3 mode. So doership, that I am the one who's doing it. So I'm the owner of the results. So I need to enjoy. So this kind of mentality, how do we come up? And why we have to come up? Krishna is quoting the Sankhya philosophy. And this Sankhya philosophy is given by Kapila Muni in when he's talking to his mother Devahuti. Okay, he's the son of Kardamuni and Devahuti. Actually, he's the incarnation of Lord. He comes to talk about Sankhya philosophy. So, O mighty Arjuna, learn from me of the 5 factors which bring about the accomplishment of all action. These are declared in Sankhya philosophy to be the place of action, the performer, senses, endeavor, and ultimately the supersoul. So what do you mean is any action involves 5 factors. Like suppose now you have there's a business going on the marketplace, right? So you need a place of action for buying or selling. So you have a marketplace. And there you need the performance. Either one person is sitting there to sell his goods, or there are people who there come and to buy the goods, right? So you need the performers. And the senses. So what are the senses? You have to have the ingredients, you have to see the goods, you have to think, then you have to talk. So you have, you need all that standards. And the endeavor. So you might have all that. There might be a seller there, you might be a buyer, but actually the person should come and do it. The selling action or the buying action. Right? And ultimately it is a super soul. Unless a super soul is there, it never gets sanctioned. Okay, so we have all these 5 factors will be there in any activity. And this is the Sankhya physics. This is the analysis. Even if you want to build a big temple or a factory, you need the place, a land, and you need the laborers, architects, and all that to plan it out, everything. And there should be have census. The endeavor should be there, and there should be money. And finally, you should have the sanction of the super soul, right? Who is doing, and every action, whoever is involved in it, super soul should be there. So these are the 5 factors which goes into this. So how to give up? So because how do we give up this doership? It's not that you alone have done this, the whole thing. Because there's so many other things. Can you do a buying or selling if you don't have the goods there? And if you don't have a someone to sell, then only you can buy, isn't it? So they need that. You need the ingredients. You need the things to have. And the senses, which are given by the material body, which is given by the law. And then place to do it, right? Even why this class which we are doing now. I mean, I can't take the class if you people are not there, right? And they are also, I need all this internet, I need the information given by the people. So I need all that. And then, and even if I have that, and even if I there, and we should all come together to take the activity take place. Plus, we should have the sanction of the law. If it's not, that internet might go off. So the Lord should sanction also should be there for us to carry out this activity, right? So same way for every activity. It's not only this. They need this 5 factors should be there. It's involved. So when you understand that, then you realize that you are not the only doer. Okay. So whatever right or wrong action a man performs by body, mind, and speech is caused by these 5 factors. Body means physical action or the mental action. Bring speech, verbal. So I say this shall be done. Okay. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is not certainly not very intelligent, and he cannot see things as they are. So Krishna says he's not intelligent. If a person thinks that he is the only doer and he is the cause for that, then he's not intelligent. And because he's not seeing things in the proper perspective, because there are so many factors are there. Okay, 5 factors which he has placed it, right? So both whether you're doing a right action or wrong action, it is performed by the body, speech, mind, and things. You need all these 5 factors. Super soul, doer, endeavor, the effort has to be put using the instruments, and place of action. Wrong actions means we are saying irreligious work done against the principles of scriptural injunctions. Right actions is you are doing a religious activity in terms of prescribed spiritual directions. Super soul is your daiva, and soul is a spiritual word, karta, then endeavor, shrestha, and karanam, and adhisthana. So these 5 causes corporately perform every action. Okay. So once you understand this thoroughly, then you realize that you are not the only doer. You need all the other 5 factors for any activity to be done. Okay. So whether it's wrong action or right action, every action involves 5 factors. Okay. But the next question comes, what is the motivation for it? Okay. What is the motivation? What is that impetus that tells you to do an action? So finally, we know these are the 5 vectors, but initially it should be starting somewhere, isn't it? So Krishna is saying, one who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled by the 3 modes of nature. So such a person, even if he kills, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. So what does it mean? That means he's not motivated by false ego and whose intelligence is not entangled. There's a thing. So let us see the. In this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Although thought himself to be the doer of action, but he did not consider the supreme sanction within and without, right? If one does not know that a super sanction is there, why should he act? But one who knows that instruments of work, himself as the worker, and the Supreme Lord as the Supreme Sanctioner is perfect in doing everything. Such a person is never in illusion. That means he knows the Lord is the one who is there sanctioning and he is doing for him. So personal activity and responsibility arise only from false ego and godlessness or a lack of Krishna consciousness. Okay. This comes because of that. Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under direction of the super soul, even though killing does not kill, nor is he ever affected by the reaction of such killing, because it's a karma. When a soldier kills under the command of a superior officer, he is not subjected to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by the court. So it says the desire to fight, desire to do any activity, if it comes from a false ego, and you think you are the one doing, and you don't take in the account of the Lord in it, lack of Krishna consciousness, then you are in the subjected to the modes of nature, reaction. Okay. Jnanam neyam paritnata trivida karma kshodana karanam karma karteti trivida karma sangraha. Then he continues to say, knowledge, object of knowledge, knower are the three factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constitutions of action. See how the analysis the Lord is giving. There are three kinds of impetus for us for daily work. What are the impetus which is motivating? Knowledge, object of knowledge, and the knower. Then the instruments of work, work itself, and the worker are called constituents of work. What do you mean by that? Knowledge, knower. Suppose we'll take a very simple example. Like if you want to do gulab jam and a sweet, okay? So you would have eaten that sweet or you have seen it also and you have eaten it. So that knowledge is there, that experience of having eaten it and all that. So you are a knower and you know, you have seen and that and how to do it and all that recipe is also there with you. So the object is the say gulab jamun and the knowledge how to do it and having tasted it, the experience and is there with you. So unless you have that, unless you know what the object is and unless you have that knowledge, the knower, there won't be an impotence. No, you won't be motivated to make it, prepare. If you want to prepare it, you should have these, right? These factors. There should be a person who knows it and there should be some experience and there should be, right? So that is the impetus for the work, right? And the instruments of work, work itself and the worker are called constituents of work. What is the instruments? You should have all the cook, you should have a pan, you should have a stove, you should have the ingredients of all that to making it. And you actually have to do it. And the worker is there. Then only the work gets done. First is, if you don't have that motivation, that impetus, that you have that knowledge and you know how to do it, then you won't get down to doing the activity, right? So that's what the Lord says. Any work done by any human being has these elements. Before one acts, there's some impetus, which is called inspiration, right? And any solution arrived at before work is actualized is a subtle form of work. What do you mean by that? That actually you will be in the mind, in a subtle way, you know it, how to do it. So you would have carried out in your mind itself. It's a subtle way because it's there with you and you have done. There is a subtle. Then works takes the form of action. Or if you take another activity that you want to deliver something to a place which is in the nearby village, right? So when that thing comes, you know how to go there. Either you go by car or a thing in the next morning. and you know where you have to give. So you know the activity. So the delivering that parcel to that person is there. That is the object. And you have the knowledge how to go by the road or by train and how to place, and then finally you do it. So mentally you will think of, that's there in your mind, you have done a subtle form. And then next day you will carry out the work. So the first one has to undergo the physical, psychological process of thinking, feeling, and willing. That is the impetus. So inspiration to work is the same if it comes from the scripture or from the instruction of the spiritual master. When the inspiration is there and the worker is there, then actual activity takes place by the help of the senses, including mind, which is the center of all senses. Sum total of all the constituents of an activity is called the accumulation of work. See how the Lord, even Prabhupada has given a detailed explanation. Okay. So what the Lord says, there has to be a motivation. Even if it's skill but knowledge, if it is not by false ego, because you are doing it as the thing. And we saw the factors that motivate action and the sense and the constitution of action. So the knower has the knowledge of the object, and then doer uses the senses to do the work, and finally you get the results when you have all this ultimately, right? So this is the motivation impedance. Otherwise, you won't do any activity unless there's something which is impelling, impetus is there. Okay, unless you have these ingredients. Okay. According to three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge: action, performer of action. Now here. So same activity could be done by many people, but it will be different because their modes of nature would be different. It may not be with the same intention or with the same attitude or with the way they carry out and all that. It all depends upon their modes of nature. So, and the performer also. So the knowledge you have, the worker, they're all under different modes of nature. Even that intelligence also comes from the different modes of nature. So when you look into such analysis, then you realize that they will be different way. The people who carry out the thing will be different. Okay. So knowledge and objective are the motivators. Instruments and work are the constituents. Why is Krishna explaining in such detail? That's a question. It is actually to free Arjuna from doership mentality, right? You're not doing it all by yourself. There are so many things involved. If I take the credit, I made such nice gulab jamuns, then what happens? Who gave me the ingredients? Who gave me the place to cook? Who gave me the recipe I followed? So you can't take the ownership, that credit of doing it all by yourself, right? Even doing this diploma BG course we're having, it is to think that I am the one doing it. To do this course, I need the support of so many things. I need you, I need the system, arrangements, network, and directly or indirectly, need a place to sit and do. And material and teaching is given by my teachers. So you can't take the credit, isn't it? So Krishna is telling Arjuna, how can you think that you're doing it all by yourself? Once you come out from this doership mentality, you'll also come out of the ownership mentality. So now we mentioned all these factors. Okay. So Krishna will ask, are these factors controlled by three modes of nature? So all these things, even our knowledge is controlled by three modes. The worker is controlled by three modes. Action is controlled by three modes, which you are going to see in the following things. So shall we stop at this then? Because that's a whole list, So I can just keep going through it. But if you want to have discussion till now, then we can go through it. We need not rush this chapter, right? So what did we do? We talked about renunciation. What do you mean? The renouncing is only the results and not the activities. Even the activities like sacrifice, charity and all that, they are purifying us. So we need to do that. And prescribed duties will help us to be disciplined and we should do it as a duty and not as a thing. And they will, otherwise what happens, we will be incurring some reactions through it. And so, and then that will put us in this cycle of birth and death. We'll be going through that cycle. We won't be able to come out of it unless we take up the restart. And what is the main motivation and what are the 5 factors they are there? So we looked at it, because unless we come out of the doership and the ownership mentality, we won't be able to renounce the things. We won't be able to detach, offer the results to the Lord, Don't get detached to the attached to the results of the work. So this is all about karma. So he is talking about karma in much detail now, right? And he's giving it some more inputs about it, some more analysis. So we did that today, right? So we'll see how the knowledge, happiness, and so many things he lists out from the next 20 verses, how they are affected by the influence of modes of nature. So we'll do it again next, because that will be a whole list which will get right. Okay, I'll stop with this and then we will take up